Myth wizards, also known as conjurers, are well versed in the ways of monsters. They can summon powerful minions to aid them in battle and have plenty of utility spells to take advantage of. Myth wizards are well-rounded and can thrive in both solo and group environments. What's up guys, welcome back to a brand new video, and welcome to the pros and cons to the School of Myth. This is a mini series on my channel where we take a look at the pros and cons to each Wizard101 school to help make your decision of which school should I quest next easier. If you guys are excited for the School of Myth wizards, I want to see you in the comments below. Please make sure to leave a like and hit that subscribe button, as it goes a really long way and shows me that you guys are enjoying my content. But with all that being said, let's hop right on into the School of Myth. Before we begin, I quickly want to mention that I have all of my notes written up on another monitor so that I do not forget anything. So if you see me looking over here, that is what I am looking at. So, to start things off with the pros to the School of Myth, and I can already see the comments, Valerie, I have a max level myth wizard and I still have yet to find one pro to the school. Well, you would be mistaken, because the School of Myth has many pros. Number one being that I believe that they are the most aesthetic school, and that is very important if you are a person like me. Since the School of Myth is the most underplayed school, if you have a level 140 myth with a pretty cool stitch, I think that is so cool to see in game, and it just looks really pretty. Number two, they have spells that take away shields and blades from your opponents, like Earthquake, Shatter, and Pierce, which is extremely important in certain boss fights and if you're gonna do PvP. And heck, if you are doing any school PvP, spells like Shatter and Pierce have to be in your deck, and you would not have those spells if it wasn't for the Myth School. Number three, you can hold your opponent stunned for multiple rounds. This is extremely fun in PvP. Well, not if you're the opponent, but if you are the Myth Wizard, you can cast some pretty cool combination spells and have your opponent stunned for a pretty long time. Number four, you get minions, which not a lot of other schools do, and that is extremely helpful in low-level PvP and PvE. I will talk about what happens at the higher levels later, but for low-level Myth Wizards, I believe that minions are a pretty helpful asset. Number five, they have meh HP and meh damage. You know, it's not the best, but it's not the worst, so take that as you will. Number six and seven kind of go together, but Myth Wizards are extremely fun if you want to do PvP. I believe at one point Myth was the best school to do PvP on, but I am unsure if that still holds to this day, as I am not a PvP person. And lastly, Myth boosts on Storm, which is really helpful for those annoying ass Storm boss fights, and if you're going up against Storm Wizard and PvP as well, because we all know storms can be very annoying. Now, let's move on to the cons to the School of Myth. Number one, they are a pretty meh school. You know, there's no real downside to their stats, but that's what kind of makes them meh. You know, they're not as strong as a Storm or a Fire, but they're also not as weak as a Life Wizard. Number two, in PvE, most bosses in Wizard101 are stun immune. So you know how I was talking about that you can keep your opponent stunned for pretty long earlier? Yeah, well, with some bosses, this is pretty useless, as King's Isle loves to make bosses stun immune for some reason. Number three, as a Myth Wizard, you don't really get a lot of single attack hits, so you do have to double blade if you're gonna hit with a spell like Minotaur, for example, or any other spell where it does a small amount of damage first and then a large amount of damage second. It does get kind of annoying to have to double blade for those, but you do what you gotta do, I guess. Number four, you know how I was talking about how minions were helpful at low level? Yeah, well, at high level, they are pretty much useless. So if you come to love using your minions, I'm sorry, but at max level, you ain't gonna be using them at all. Number five, you get no self-healing spell other than when you get Pixie at the very beginning of the game, which, because you have meh health, you're kind of gonna die a lot. I'm sorry. And last but not least, like the School of Storm, Myth does not get a damage overtime spell, but this can be overcome if you get the Noble Humongo Frog pet, which gives you a DOT. But if I'm being honest, because Myth has so many other spells that can hit and take off shields and then hit again, the use of a DOT is not really a necessity for them, which is honestly why they don't have one. So all in all, I kind of feel bad for Myth Wizards. You know, they are the most underplayed school in the game and they get shit on a lot if I'm being honest. But they also have the most interesting abilities in the game, and to be a Myth Wizard, I definitely think that you have to be on more of the creative side of things because questing is definitely not easy. So all in all, to wrap everything up, because I know that that was a lot of information to speed at you guys at once, Myth is a pretty cool school. You know, they have pretty cool looking spells and they have really great abilities. Like they can push damage overtimes back on the enemy, they can break shields and traps and stun enemies and keep them stunned for a pretty long time. But just because their spells look cool does sadly not make them the best wizards around. At higher levels, you know, the ability to summon minions is basically obsolete. You're not really going to use it. It's going to be a waste of pips. And they fall short of damage. You know, if you are questing in a group as a Myth Wizard, you are going to be a support role for either your storm or your fire. But the one thing I can say about Myth Wizards that I cannot say about any other school is that you have to be extremely creative to play them, and I give anyone who has maxed a Myth the utmost credit because it is a challenging experience, and especially if you are soloing, you're gonna have a tough time, but you know, it is a completely different play style, and I highly recommend that everyone gives it a chance at least once. Alrighty guys, that is going to be it for the pros and cons to the School of Myth. If you did enjoy today's video, please make sure to leave a like and hit the subscribe button if you have not already, as it goes a really long way and shows me that you guys are enjoying my content. And leave a comment down below of which school's pros and cons you would like to see next. If you don't already know, I have a Discord server, which I will also have linked down below, and that is the best place for me to get to know you guys more and just be able to hang out with you all in general. But yeah, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!